Hi, and welcome to the How to Survive Healthcare podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Thompson-Riviere, seasoned critical care RN turned independent patient advocate. Tune in every week so that you can learn the things about the U.S. healthcare system that no one ever tells you. That way that you can get the most from it and optimize your health outcomes. Now, of course, this podcast is strictly to inform and entertain and should never be taken as a substitute for medical advice. Let's dive right in. Hey y'all. Welcome back to another episode here of How to Survive Healthcare. Before we dive in, I want to take a few minutes and share a few personal notes. So, a lot has happened with Herd for Life in the past couple of weeks. That's not why I missed an episode last week, but I'll get back to that. Firstly, I want to share that where I live here, I'm near Salisbury, Maryland. We are fortunate enough to have a program. We have a Center for Entrepreneurship, and they do this incubator program where you work with a mentor for 6 months and have access to office space and a whole host of things. I'm really not even sure all the details, but I was accepted into the program, and I'm so stoked about that. I actually go to sign the papers and to get the keys tomorrow. So that'll be very exciting. You'll see the background change because I'll no longer be in my spare room, which is supposed to be my son's bedroom. Which will also be great because I'm sure that you've noticed sometimes, maybe you haven't. I try to cut it out, but the dog barks, the baby cries, there's interruptions all the time. I now understand fully the struggle of working at home. I am blessed in that my husband and my kids love me so much, and I love them, and we want to hang out all the time. And it's very distracting and hard to get work done. So this will be I'm very grateful for the opportunity for this space, and I cannot wait to see how I'm able to grow under some real in a next layer of next level mentorship and guidance. I'm just be over the moon. So that's the first big thing. The second big thing that occurred only a couple days later, my client roster is starting to grow, actually to the point where it no longer makes sense for me to continue my regular job as a nurse. So I turned in my notice. It is a bit bittersweet, but in a couple weeks it'll be my last day working as a registered nurse. I will be retiring the navy blue scrubs. It doesn't even feel real to say. I probably won't believe it fully for a while. Like things have to sink in. Also, I'm not done. It's been a whirlwind. I am so excited to share that my good friend, fellow advocate, and coach, Nicole Broadhurst, is going to be joining me on the podcast as a permanent fixture. Nicole has a background in medical billing and healthcare admin. So while I bring the clinical aspect of these different topics, she's got the financial aspect. Her and I do we actually do another program together called Mindset Monday, which is geared towards independent patient advocates, really anybody in general, but we keep it kind of, we talk a lot about keeping a positive mindset when working with patients or clients in the healthcare system, and kind of the struggles of running your own business. So her and I have been doing that together for over a year now, every Monday, and we have quite quite the banter. So I'm so thrilled to bring that to the podcast. I think you're really going to enjoy the conversational dynamic. I know I will. It's really, I struggle talking at a camera here. And having that back and forth is I think will bring a little bit of levity to a lot of good information. So super stoked about that. Not entirely sure when that change will occur, but hopefully within the next month or so. Don't mark your calendar. I'll keep you posted as things are going. So yeah, exciting stuff around here. The reason though we missed a podcast last week, I have been having crazy technical issues. The platform, and I still am, the platform that I usually use to record these podcasts is not recognizing my microphone. You probably picked that up in the last couple of episodes, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I thought there was something wrong with my microphone. I was going through all of the settings and well, they were overwhelming. I'm not a tech person. I finally got my husband to look at it and he's like, "Oh, well, you're using your laptop microphone, which is closed and sitting over there with papers on top of it. So no wonder the audio quality has been terrible the last several episodes. I'm so sorry for that. I have some processing tools and I try to clean up the audio, which I'm sure if if you listen to them, you can tell. I don't think it makes it. I think it made it worse, honestly. But turns out it just wasn't utilizing my microphone, my very nice, pricey microphone. And I have a ticket in with their IT people because it's still not working. So hopefully I'm streaming through Zoom, which I don't normally because I don't get the quite the same level of HD quality with the video. But I figure getting the proper sound is more important than the video quality since everybody is definitely listening to it. Not everybody is watching this. So that's where we are. All right, so on to today's topic. It is October and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And that's important. The awareness is important. I think they've done a fantastic job at driving awareness. One thing I did learn though in preparing for this podcast, I didn't realize that breast cancer is the most fatal cancer for women. In fact, according to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, it's estimated that 42,780 females and 530 males will lose their lives to breast cancer in 2024 based on previous numbers. I didn't realize it was the most fatal cancer for women, and I'm glad we've brought awareness to it, but awareness is not as good as prevention, in my opinion. And of course, whenever we talk about prevention in medicine, there's factors inside of your control and there's factors not inside of your control. Those are called modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. So one that you may be familiar with is the BRCA gene. About 5 to 10% of breast cancers are linked to this gene mutation. BRCA is the acronym. They've now identified BRCA1 and 2. You may recall several years ago, Angelina Jolie, I believe, double check me, but actually got a double mastectomy because she had that BRCA gene and didn't want to develop breast cancer. Now, it's important to understand that gene mutations that are linked or associated with disease, what that means is that you have a higher likelihood of then it mutating into and causing that disease, but this isn't a be all end all. So these genes, they can be turned on and off like a light switch through modifiable risk factors, environmental triggers. So things that we do and substances that we put inside our body. So that's actually great news because, for a long time, I think that we tend to hold this belief, oh, it's in your genetics, there's nothing you can do about it. And that is so disempowering, right? But it's in your genetics and there's a lot you can do about it to prevent it from actually happening. So that to me is exciting. One of the Biggest things, particularly with the BRCA gene mutation, is soy, which was interesting. Now, you may have heard about soy. Soy has gotten a bad rap over the years. And the reason why is because soy is very high in phytoestrogen. But interestingly, the body doesn't recognize phytoestrogen. Phyto means plant, the way that it recognizes animal estrogen. So estrogen from in the body naturally occurring and then also from animal products. So while soy products are very high in phytoestrogen, it's essentially irrelevant to the human body. Furthermore, studies have from the Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine actually showed that daily ingestion of soy products decreased the risk of developing breast cancer by 27% for people who do not have that gene mutation. So, for the majority of people. However, for those with the BRCA gene mutation, again, the one that sets you up for breast cancer or more, makes it more likely, the risk was actually decreased by up to 73%. So that is just wild. So where this gene mutation used to be, oh my gosh, you're going to get breast cancer. Now they've found you can decrease that risk by 75%. That's just, or 73%. That's incredible to me. Now, it is important to note that this is, when we say, oh, eat more soy, what we're referring to is the whole food soy. So like edamame, tofu, things like that. Where we get into trouble is when soy gets ultra processed. And honestly, that ultra processing is an issue not just with soy, but really probably just about every food. So soy gets processed out and added to a lot of different packaged foods. I forget exactly why, to be honest. But you'll see if you start looking at food wrappers, you'll see soy lecithin in a ton of stuff. And that can have all that processing. I don't know if it's specifically the process of it or just the fact that it's not in its, original form, the way it was meant to be intended. But that's where we start to see negative effects from food. So again, not specifically the soy, but actually the processing. This second biggest area of food, while we're on the topic of food, that affects the development of breast cancer is processed meats. Again, here we are with the processing. So getting away from the food in its natural form and getting to this end product that is unrecognizable from where it first started. So processed meats such as lunch meats, deli meats, sausages, pepperoni. What the heck is pepperoni anyway? Like, what animal? Nothing looks like that in nature. According to breastcancer.org, processed meats are associated with a 9% increase in the risk of breast cancer. Furthermore, there's some research around saturated fats. They were questioning, okay, the processed meats, is it the saturated fats that do it? The data was a little bit more unclear about that, but they did find a correlation that the more saturated fats somebody eats, the more likely they were to develop breast cancer and other cancers as well. Now, another one that gets a lot of, you might hear a lot about is dairy. So frankly, the data is very mixed on dairy. I found data saying that dairy does increase the risk of breast cancer because of the animal estrogens and the saturated fats, which tracks, that makes sense. But then I also found data that said it doesn't impact. Now, a big thing with data, there's so many layers to this that people, consumers, should not have to dig through. But another issue that we find with these food studies is you have to look at who's funding the study. And that's why this is a side tangent. Over the years, how many times have you heard eggs are good for you and then eggs are bad for you and then eggs, I think, are eggs are good for you again. Um, and every time those new studies come out, it's not really new studies, it's just there's a group behind it that wants an outcome, and they are able to find the scientists to create something this is awful, that'll get the outcome that they're looking for. So this is why food is so confusing. This is why there's not good answers about things, coupled with the fact that, frankly, we do not know everything about the human body and what you're supposed to put in it. But as a general rule of thumb, I know I've talked about this before, you should be eating whole food sources. So that means the way it came from nature. And if it comes out of a box, a package, a wrapper, it's probably not really food anymore. It's a food-like product. Um, the last thing I want to note on ingesting substances is alcohol. Uh, it's a huge one for breast cancer and again, other cancers as well. And it's frustrating because we live in a very kind of alcohol soaked culture. It's very normalized. You can buy it all over the place. It's served with your meals, guys. It is literally chemically a poison. And it causes all kinds of disastrous effects to the body. So it is for semi-regular drinkers, it's associated with a 7% increase in breast cancer. For daily drinkers, it's associated with a 20% increase in breast cancer. And there's a couple of main drivers for this. So number one, alcohol actually affects your estrogen levels. Again, estrogen is one of the hormones that plays a very big role in the development of breast cancer. Alcohol also damages DNA, and DNA is the instruction manual for all of the cells in your body. So when the instructions go all wonky, it's like making a copy of a copy, and then the copy got a little messed up, and now you're making messed up copies. That's truly how cancer begins. Alcohol also causes decreased nutrient absorption, and it is often associated with weight gain. That does bring me to the last point here for breast cancer prevention is that unfortunately, being overweight does increase your breast cancer risk by 20 to 40% increase. That is pretty significant. Of course, being overweight is breast cancer is not the only thing it puts you at higher risk for. It does affect it is a factor in multiple disease processes. So clearly easier said than done, but just one more reason that getting our weight within a healthy range is so critical. Lastly, I just want to note that again, this is an area not great research, but there's some emerging research about BPA, phthalates, and plastics and the effects on breast cancer and other areas of the human body. Um, I would encourage you to start to look at your plastic use and minimize it as much as possible. We know that plastic breaks down. I don't know if you've heard of microplastics, but you've probably noticed it when you have kitchen items that the plastic starts to disappear. Especially a good example is a cutting board. You ever have a plastic cutting board, and then you can see all the knife lines. Where does that plastic go? It goes in you. And it gets absorbed into the body, and then it gets stuck there, and all the chemicals in the plastic start to leach out. Isn't it lovely to think about the things we didn't know when we created Tupperware? But anyway, plastic, you've probably heard about BPA. BPA, fortunately, they stopped putting it in most food and beverage containers, drinkware, and whatnot. But you still got to check out for it. But it is a known endocrine disruptor. Your endocrine system, it's again your hormones. Hormones, one of the big ones, estrogen, which plays a huge role in breast cancer. So that's the link there. So to recap, breast cancer awareness is great. Breast cancer prevention is better. So tell your friends, limit your processed meats, your increase your soy intake. Again, the whole soy, not the processed out isolates and whatnot. Jury's out on dairy. Got to get away from the alcohol and get the body weight under control and ditch the plastics. So I hope that this was helpful for you. Thank you for sticking around through my housekeeping announcements. I know this is definitely going to be a longer episode than typical, and I can't wait to see where the podcast goes. So see you next week and take care.